Let's make old candles into new ones without burning the house down. Let's go. The first thing we're going to work on is the wick. With this project, I'm going to be using Popsicle Sticks. You can use a wick that's already created or make one yourself. Place your popsicle sticks into a bowl, and the reason why I'm using two is in case I mess up with one, I have a second one as backup. And then you pour coconut oil over top of them. You need to let them sit in the coconut oil for a minimum of 1 hour. I ended up letting them soak for 24 hours so that they could get a nice soak. When you have excess, just wipe it around your hands. It's a great moisturizer. While that soaks, here's the candle that inspired this project. I used my wick dipper in order to get to the wicks that had fallen deep into the wax. I ended up getting all of this wax out of the way, and now I want to make a new candle with it. I'm going to show you all this was actually a fail in terms of another way I wanted to melt the wax. I'd read that if you use a coffee warmer that you could melt your wax. So I tried it out and let it sit on it for about 35 minutes and it made no difference. I'm using the tried and true way, which is boiling a pot of water on the stove and melting the wax inside of it. Keep in mind that you want the water to be nice and hot, but you don't want it so hot that it will crack the glass. So I took it off of the eye just to cool down a bit. Then I placed my candle inside. A watch pot never boils does not apply here. As your candle wax is melting, keep an eye on it at all times. If not only for safety, it's really satisfying to watch. Use rubber tongs or tongs that have a good grip on them before taking them out and putting them on the trivet. I used metal tongs to get the wick bottoms out of the wax because it was easy for me to handle, but use what works best for you. After this, take your wax with your oven mitt and pour it into a container that can handle hot wax. I'm doing a second candle, so the water is still hot, so I put it on medium heat before I put the candle in. The water must be hot enough for it to melt, so it does not have to be absolutely boiling, and again, being safe about the glass. The same process as before, using my rubber tongs to take out my candle and putting it on the side. I kept the heat on medium because now we're going to start melting the wax all together. The wax we just did hardened a bit, and now we're going to add the wax from the original candle and allow it to combine over low heat. I stir them together with my spatula in order to combine all of the scents. What's your favorite scent? Let me know. The kitchen smells amazing right now. Now I'll set this aside and check on the wicks. I'm using a glue gun to connect my wick to the jar. This part is really simple. All I do is dry each wick with a paper towel. The music in the background is actually being played by me. By any chance, do you recognize the song? I'll let you know at the end of the video what it is, if you haven't figured it out yet. Now that the wicks are all dry, set them in the coconut oil aside as we start on the next part. I take one of the wicks and set it inside to kind of guesstimate where exactly I should make my cuts. I mark on the short and long side. I used a pair of cutting pliers in order to snip the ends. I used my paper towel to wipe off any additional wax from the center so that when I applied my hot glue, it was directly on the jar. When you place your wick, make sure that it is straight. so mine is a little crooked, so I am moving it while the glue is still hot. Speaking of heat, let's turn the stove back on so that we can melt our wax. It's so satisfying watching it melt. Look at that perfect circle. I'm giving it one more good stir before I take it to go get poured. Our wick is now set inside of the jar. Gave it a little pull and it feels very secure. Remember, when you're handling the hot wax, the container itself could also be hot, so I suggest using some type of mitten to protect yourself. Make sure when you pour, avoid the wick and do it nice and slow, and have your spatula ready so that you can scrape it into the jar. Popsicles have many uses. I use this one to get that little bit of dried wax off of the spatula and into the jar. This is your last stir. Mix it around before it starts to solidify. I know exactly what you're thinking right now.
How long is this going to take?
The moment you've been waiting for. I use my lighter to light the wick, and I let it sit there for just a minute so that it could really start to burn. Something to consider when you're making these candles is how much wax that you have versus your wick. So I had to cut mine down to be at the right length. Now I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Well, the scents of my labor. When you're doing this project, make sure that you pick scents that complement each other so that when they mix, it smells just as good. I chose this specific jar because it says Gold Digger. I'm constantly working on my ideas, my content, and this candle was the perfect backdrop for my time. Always make sure to put out your candle when you're finished. If you can help it, don't put out your candle by blowing on it. You could accidentally spread the wax, making it uneven and leaving black soot on the wick. Instead, use a wick dipper, a wick trimmer, and a candle snuffer. I love saying that word, snuffer. Put the snuffer over the flame, careful not to get it into the wax. If you did get into the wax, it's no big deal. Just slowly drip it over the candle, and when it starts to dry, then you can move it. I bought this set for the first time about 4 months ago, and it has changed my candle game. I feel so fancy, and of course makes it a lot safer. Were you able to figure out what the song was? If you got this without me telling you, I am thoroughly impressed. It's Look Into My Eyes by Bone Thugs and Harmony. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and that you continue to smash every goal that you set for yourself. Thanks for getting crafty with Aphy.